रिटायर्ड कलीम सादत साहब से गुजारिश करूँगा कि वो स्टेज पर तशरीफ़ लाएँ और आज के मौजू के हिसाब से अपने ख़यालात का इजहार फरमाएँ। तशरीफ़ लाते हैं एयर मार्शल कलीम सादत साहब।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। सबसे पहले तो मैं मोहतरम इरफानी साहब का शुक्रिया अदा करूँगा कि उन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया कि मैं यहाँ पे आऊँ। हबीब ग्रुप ऑफ कॉलेजेस का भी कि उन्होंने मुझे ये एज़ाज़ बख्शा, और मैं अपना सलाम बाकी लोग जो यहाँ पे हैं उनको भी कहना चाहूँगा। मैंने अपने स्कूल में उर्दू में तकारीर की थी, लेकिन फिर एयरफोर्स में आने के बाद सारा काम अंग्रेज़ी में होने लगा, तो इस वजह से अनफॉर्चुनेटली मेरी उर्दू की तकरीर यहाँ ख़त्म हो जाएगी और मैं आपको बाकी की तकरीर अंग्रेज़ी में करने पर मजबूर हूँ। Ladies and gentlemen, the topic that we have all been given today are the events in the Middle East and Pakistan's perspective on the same. How I have tailored my talk is that I will give you my own perspective, but later on, when other intellectuals put forward their point of view, we will be able to get some kind of Pakistani perspective on the problem that we face in the Middle East these days. My basic thesis is, I was telling you that my basic thesis is that we live in an imperfect and cynical world. We should not expect mercy from others. We can only defend ourselves if we are strong economically and internally. That can only come about if in all the Muslim countries the common man's rights are looked after. So I will start with posing two fundamental questions. The first one is that is there a conspiracy against the Muslims? And my answer to this question is a definitive no. Because I think that we may perceive discrepancies in the conduct of Western powers which have been invading Muslim countries. They may treat countries like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan and Oman in one way, and Libya, Iran, Iraq and Syria in the other. But I think that they have system of analysis and response, and that is based on their interests and not always on altruism. मैं ज़रा तकरीर से हट जाऊँ, क्या मैं ये समझूँ कि आपको मेरी तकरीर समझ नहीं आ रही? मैं उर्दू में So what I was saying, that whatever way they conduct themselves, they have an order of acceptance of Muslim world. Their first preference is to prefer democracies. Their second preference is to support monarchies, constitutional monarchies if there be. And the third and the final compulsion is to support dictators if they serve their interest. We must understand that people and nations rarely want to act in accordance with the wishes or expectations of others. It is always as a result of give and take or a compulsion. The strong have fewer compulsions as compared to the weak. so they prevail most of the time. It happens in our homes, in our streets and communities, and it also happens, unfortunately, in the world. In politics and state of the economy, each country affected by the so-called Arab Spring has its own peculiar situation. Bahrain has a Shia majority ruled by a Sunni minority. Yemen has a dictator suppressing his people and fighting Al-Qaeda. Saudi Arabia has a Shia-Sunni problem to some extent and non-representative government. Omani people also want rights and want their income disparities to be reduced. Libya wants to pacify the public. The second is to ensure the supply of oil. The third is to prevent large-scale bloodshed by monarchs or dictators. Fourth is to prevent Al-Qaeda taking over a country. And finally, to manage a resultant regime that would be favorable to their respective regional interests. Since the situation in each country is different, the response cannot be consistent or in accordance with your and my wishes. We should remember, we like to underplay the humanitarian motivation behind their interventions, but we must remember that they did intervene to protect Muslims in Bosnia and Serbia. They did provide relief after our earthquake in 2005 and the floods of 2010. It is always instructive to put yourself in a person's shoes. If Indians stop the water in our dams, in dams that from the rivers that are flowing into Pakistan, or there are militants that continue to cross over from Afghanistan into our borders, it causes us concern, and we would want to or should do all to prevent this. Similarly, if others feel that their interests are threatened, they would do all to guard them. When one speaks to foreigners, they seem to be more concerned by our dire situation than we are. Consider for a moment the grants we get for healthcare, education, uplift of backward areas, and women empowerment. Most of the grants are not utilized fully or effectively. This leads to the donors giving up because they cannot see their own taxpayers' money going waste. We try to frighten them into giving us aid, but we cannot put it to good use. It is evident that most of the harm done to the Muslims has been done by themselves. And these are for the following reasons. We have not created a fair and sustainable form of government. We have been poorly led. We have wrong priorities. We take the destructive route as a strategy. Whatever little we have, we allow that to be destroyed. We are divided in many ways. We seek salvation through Islam, but we are divided on Islam also. Islam is used or allowed to be used contrary to the interest of the people. We are obsessed with sinners, but we elect criminals to high office. We want to remain anchored to the past and are not willing to move forward in keeping with the times. We are emotional and predictable in action, but more so in reaction, so we are easily pliable and exploitable. Look at the case of Raymond Davis. They used Islam and took him away fraudulently. We should ask ourselves, by killing Salman Taseer or assassinating Salman Taseer and Shahbaz Bhatti, are we better Muslims? Has our country become better? Have things become better? And I will leave the answer to be given by you. So the conclusion that I come to is that there is something seriously wrong with the way we Muslims manage our affairs. We, most importantly, give greater importance to state security than people security. Libya's Gaddafi came to power in 1969, Yemen's Ali Abdullah in 1978, Egypt's Mubarak in 1981, and Tunisia's Ben Ali in 1987. I wish to draw your attention to the fact that 50% of the people living in these countries are below the age of 25. So 50% of their population has lived under just one ruler. And these rulers have survived because of partly American support, because of oil money, and some very feared and suppressive intelligence and security agencies. In these countries, dissenters have disappeared only to be buried in unmarked mass graves. On the other hand, if we look at it, where are Muslims happiest? Relatively speaking, it is in Turkey, it is in Malaysia, it is in Indonesia. Why is it so? Because people have a say in the way they are governed, and the governments are responsive and accountable to them. And that is why they have progressed also. There is an element of truthfulness and transparency between the ruled and the rulers. Others have been ruled by monarchies, dictators, or one-man-run democracies. The result is for every one of us to see there are disparities of income and opportunities, and there is great discontentment. The reason that we Muslims are open to foreign intervention or aggression is because we have never tried to gain, that our leaders have never tried to gain the respect and support of its citizens, who they try to control through fear and repression. So the invaders are seen to bring the people a possibility of temporary relief. The military wherewithal collapses because the rulers cannot trust the operators with war machines or weapons in their own defense. The control of these weapons or the armed forces is with their sons or princes or with their confidants. In peacetime, they can exercise control, but when they are invaded, these princes and their sons cannot stop the invasions. That is why they are always invaded. You will be surprised that if the armor corps or the corps where there are tanks or aeroplanes is under one prince, the ammunition for the aeroplanes and the tanks are with the other prince, so that nobody can rise against the king or the ruler over there. But when you have this kind of an arrangement, you do not have a national army. So if others invade you, there is no way that you can defend your country against these invasions. Before I come to the suggestions to ameliorate the situation, let me pose another question. Because the way we Muslims react to this situation is, we want to destroy everyone. My question to you is, do we threaten the status quo of the West? That is to say, the existence of the West in line with their values? And my answer to this question is no. The reason is that whatever problems they face, they have the ability to diagnose the cause, evolve a solution, and implement it. By contrast, we have no problem-solving capabilities, at least not if it pertains to the problems of the people like you and us. We will find 1,000 reasons and not find one justification for doing something positive or constructive. India is inaugurating almost one dam every year, but we have not taken a decision to build a major dam in the past 35 years. Bhasha Dayami Dam is just about beginning and may take 10 to 15 years to complete, during which time we would have much acute water scarcity in our country. On the other hand, look at the United States. After they were attacked on 9 September 2001, they promised that they would create a system which will enable them to know in advance enough about a passenger or a merchandise that will land on their ports of entry. It appeared to be too ambitious and impracticable at that time, but that system exists now. So those that predict their downfall are going to be disappointed. The British Empire may have collapsed, but Britain is able to take care of its national, including the Muslims there, better than all the Muslim rulers can in their own countries. The states exist to protect and provide for the basic needs of its citizens. In the past 235 years of American history, they have fought 350 wars. In most wars, they have been victorious. In some, they have not. But all these wars have been waged for the sake of their people, their interests and their values. The soldiers have never fired upon their own people and have sacrificed willingly. By contrast, in all Muslim countries you will find the soldiers firing on their own people. There is a rule of law in those countries and there is nobody above the law. It is not my intent to defend their actions or policies. We cannot justify them, but they can explain the same to their own people because it is done in their name. In the Muslim countries, Muslims are killing Muslims. It is in the name of Islam, but it is about power and control and misappropriation of national resources. Muslims aspire to overtake the West, but for that they have to beat them at their own game, which entails blood, sweat, and tears. Blowing yourself or others up is not the way to economic or societal progress. Muslim civilizations that prospered concentrated on building rather than destruction. The fault can be laid at the doorstep of our leaders. This is true of most Muslim countries, but in Pakistan, it is more disturbing because we claim to have had regular elections and have had the opportunity to elect our leaders. So if they are not good, we are to be blamed. Every voter votes for or supports a party because he or she wants to be the direct beneficiary in the event of the party coming to power. He wants employment for himself or herself and as many of us his near and dear ones, and wants it without resort to any merit. However, democratic functioning and governance seeks to provide collective and indirect benefit to citizens through creation of employment and other economic opportunities. Mass employment to political adherents in state enterprises is a sure recipe for bankruptcies of these entities, and yet we keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. And we claim that these are promises being fulfilled. Such employees add no value to the enterprise, are blackmailers and a bad influence, and therefore cause sure death of the business they are working in. In successful societies and nations, the interest of the individual is subordinated to those of the community and country. We have not learned to do that. Despite claiming to be Muslims, we do not have faith in Allah or ourselves insofar as our immediate economic well-being is concerned. We don't mind stealing, cheating, or snatching. For this, again, the leadership sets an example, because compared to the voter, the leader has greater autonomy of action and influence and far fewer compulsions. Our leaders have believed that wrong actions can yield the right results, so they do all the wrong things and keep hoping things would turn out just fine. People sitting in the Agriculture University will be pleased to know that there was a gentleman author. He says, in all successful enterprise in our lives, the law of agriculture applies. That is to say, that you prepare the ground, you sow the seed, you water it, you protect it from the elements, you give it time, allow the thing to grow into a tree, to yield either fruit or to give you grain. So you will harvest what you have sowed. Unfortunately, we expect that we can sow a karela, but we can harvest a mango. In life, it doesn't happen, unfortunately. Having said all these negative things about ourselves and the Muslims in general, let me also say that it is also very easy to put the country back on track by doing a few simple things. The foremost among those is that the job of the leadership is just one: to give people hope. When you give people hope, the rest they will do everything. How do we give hope? By ensuring merit and by ensuring justice. When all of you who are studying know that you will get a job without a parchi, you will work hard. And if you don't have this confidence, then you would not like to work hard. Maybe you will get a fake degree. People, media, judiciary, and the armed forces in this country all want to be patient with democracy. All they want to see is that the country and its government gets on track. For this, we need key positions to be given to politically neutral, upright, and competent people. Bureaucracy and police needs to be depoliticized. We have seen the Karachi law and order situation. There is police, there is rangers, there is government, but there are killings that go on endlessly. And I'm sure you know what the reasons are. All good nations show love and respect for their fellow citizens. We as leaders have not been able to groom our people in this way. On the road, everybody is angry. The one who wants to overtake and the one who is being overtaken. and we have no qualms when we want to take advantage of another guy. Anybody who's stuck in a bad situation. There was a time when a laborer would say that I will charge you 400 rupees a day or 500 rupees a day. Today, he will demand that this job, whether it takes 2 hours or 3 hours, it will take 5,000 rupees. As simple as that. The wagon driver will use gas but charge you for diesel or petrol. So we need to look inwards. The whole world will look after its interest, which may or may be not be, which may be to our detriment. That is to say, when the Americans look after in their interest that they want to people in their own country to be safe, they will kill Pakistanis. That is their problem. But Pakistanis have to decide, what do we do about this problem? Pakistanis have to come up with policies and strategies to make sure that we have a counter plan to the plan that the other side has. Okay, I'll quickly go over just last one page. I want to say that great games, we think that the West is against us, but we all know that great games have been a constant of history. People have always fought for political and economic advantage. But great games are won by people with sincerity, intellect, diligence and perseverance. These qualities are in short supply in the Muslim world, and especially amongst its leaders. They want to be in power for the sake of it. The other day, an important federal minister was being grilled on a television channel. The anchor enumerated the numerous man-made disasters that had fallen our hapless people on the watch of her party, and in the end asked her if she had any good news for the people. The only pearl of wisdom that she could muster was that the good news for the people is that the democratic government has completed 3 years. All of us can, the Muslim world in particular can solve our problems if we remove the disconnection or the contradictions in our society between Ummah and the nation state, between dynamic and static Islam, between nationalism and sub-nationalism, between state and non-state actors, and finally state security versus people security. It is evident that we have countless problems and we need to solve them quickly. Revolution is not the answer. If we can't do things right in the current disorderly order, what will we do in the chaos that follows a revolution? We have no option but to persevere with democracy, strengthen our institutions, and get an honest and sincere leadership as a result of a slow and maybe painful process. The process can be expedited by voters voting for the right person, judiciary keeping a check on the executive, election commission ensuring application of eligibility criteria. All this while we plead to the political parties to shun the pursuit of wealth and power for themselves and deliver some good governance. If we do the right things, we can be a country of hope and a strong future. Like human beings, nations also need guidance. Their guidance systems need targets. If the targets are clear, they would be hit. These targets are identified by the leaders with the help of intelligentsia. Our forefathers provided us a few objectives in the Article 4 of the Constitution: freedom, equality, democracy, tolerance, and social justice. But our subsequent leadership failed to translate these into programs and projects so that these national aims and objectives could be achieved. In the end, I would submit that the whole Muslim world needs to think of people security and not state security, which is a euphemism for the personal safety and well-being of the people in power. After dislodging dictators and tyrants, the Western governments need to return the ill-gotten wealth of the overthrown regimes in the Arab world and help strengthen democracy. They should stay out of physical occupation of these countries, but they must help in every way that